This is Torah in 7, a parsha podcast by Lubavitch International where we share some of the narrative and some of the nuance in the weekly Torah reading in 7 minutes. I'm your host, Baila Olidort, and this week's Torah reading makes me ask, who am I when no one is watching? Or, who am I when no one expects anything from me? Let's begin. The parsha opens with Yaakov's return to Canaan after 20 years with Lavan and the terrifying prospect of facing Esav. Yaakov prepares. He sends messengers to his brother, divides his camp in the event of a battle. He sends elaborate gifts of appeasement, and he prays. He then meets Esav. They embrace, weep, and part ways. The parsha then shifts to tragedy, the rape of Dinah, the revenge of Shimon and Levi, Rachel's death giving birth to Binyamin, Yitzchak's death, and finally, the genealogy of Esav's descendants. I want to focus on one solitary moment that changes everything. It happens as Yaakov is going to meet Esav. He takes his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, his 12 children, and everything he owns across the Yabok ford, heading toward Esav. He's about to have the most consequential encounter of his life. And what does he do? He turns around and goes back across the Yabok to retrieve a few additional possessions that he'd forgotten. Pachim ktanim, some small jars, says Rashi. You have to wonder why he'd do such a strange thing. And what do we know about Yaakov that can help us understand this? We know a lot. He's the one who grabbed Esav's heel at birth. He's the one who took his brother's birthright and blessing, who persevered under Lavan, who married Rachel and Leah, built a family, and accumulated great wealth. But none of this really tells us who Yaakov is. It identifies him only in relation to others, his brother, his father, his uncle, his wives, and his wealth. And this, it seems, is also how Yaakov self-identified. So he crosses back to retrieve those few remaining items because in some way they are important to his own sense of self. But then something unexpected happens. In going back for one more marker of worth, he finds himself alone. Left behind on this side of the Yabok, all his relational anchors, family, camp, and wealth are now unavailable to him. And an angel, or maybe it's Yaakov's shadow self, begins to wrestle with him. The struggle lasts all night. Stripped of all the relational masks, standing alone, livado, like God is alone, says the Midrash, Yaakov is touched by the infinite, and he emerges with a limp. Because when the infinite touches the finite, it leaves a mark. When you touch something so real, your body remembers it. As the struggle ends, he is asked, Ma shmecha, what is your name? It's not a question seeking information. It's a question that Yaakov must answer to himself. Who am I? Yaakov, he answers. It's an acknowledgement that he is the heel grabber. He's the one who wanted Esav's birthright and Esav's blessings. In this wrestling match with his inner self, he is forced to concede that until now his identity was in relation to his brother and other externals. And with that, his name is changed to Yisrael, the one who can stand alone with God. It's his core identity that he discovers, that doesn't need external validation. After this, when Yaakov, now Yisrael, meets his brother, he says, "Take my blessing," hinting that he's returning what he once took from Esav and restoring his brother's lost honor. Now that he is Yisrael, these externals are no longer necessary for his identity. He can stand alone. And after this meeting, says the Torah, Yaakov walked away whole. The question is, why should this matter to me or to you? If you're successful, loved, respected, if all your relational markers are working, why does it matter who you are underneath when the surface is working fine? It matters because we don't wake up one day and say, today I'm going to confront who I really am. The question, who am I without all these external identities, is a question we avoid. It's uncomfortable, it's scary. But it catches up with us. We get older, the kids move out, a career phase ends, our relational anchors are on the other side, unavailable. So we find ourselves reaching back for things that don't matter anymore. Old roles, old markers of worth, pachim ktanim. And suddenly we are alone, livado. I am with nothing but myself. And that's when the wrestling starts. So if we've never asked, who am I without these things? If we've never named our own Yaakov, then when the markers fall away, we have nothing underneath. When we live entirely through relational identities, our sense of self rises and falls with others' responses. Our peace depends on their approval. Our worth is always contingent. Yaakov spent decades like this. He was good at it. He survived. He even prospered. But he wasn't whole. The Torah isn't saying that relational identities are bad. It's saying that if that's all you are, you're not whole. Today, this is true as well for the Jewish people collectively. For the longest time, Jewish identity in the West was relational. We thought our achievements would earn us acceptance, validation. So we participated and contributed in the sciences, the economy, politics, and the arts. We proved ourselves valuable citizens. Those were our relational markers. We assumed they would hold. They haven't. Despite all our efforts to earn acceptance, we've been rejected. So we've been forced to ask ourselves, who are we when the world stops affirming us? When the roles we played no longer work? The collective response of the Jewish people is our Yisrael moment today. By and large, Jews have decided that they will no longer be defined through the eyes of others, but have leaned in instead into our divine core, independent of the world's validation. And, as the Lubavitch Rebbe taught us and trained us, we don't have to wait for the empty nest, the retirement, the loss, or the rejection of others to ask, who am I underneath all the roles I play? We can choose to wrestle with it now, to name our Yaakov, to discover our Yisrael, the place inside where our soul is not borrowed, relational, dependent. It will mark us. Yaakov walked away limping, but he walked away whole, and he walked away free. That's my takeaway from Parshat VaYishlach. Shabbat Shalom.